He's known for a lot of things, including being a former TV reality star and real estate mogul. Today, he's best known for his late-night tweets and occupation as President of the United States. Naturally, we're talking about Donald Trump. The Donald has definitely shown he has a taste for the expensive. We all saw that in part 1 of this video. Well, we've got a new assortment of the POTUS's properties and personal items that tip the scales when it comes to cost. Be sure to bring along a calculator and your American Express card, and keep an eye out for our quiz. It'll be asked during the video, and it's Trump-related. Until then, get comfy and be sure to hit that subscribe button and activate notifications. It may just be a red button, but we're working on getting it gold-plated. It'll be beautiful, believe us. The Trump Building. It's impossible to talk about Donald Trump without bringing up the subject of real estate. After all, throughout the previous few decades, America's current president did make his name by buying and selling multi-million-dollar pieces of land. Perhaps nowhere else on the planet is the Trump brand more visible than New York City. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, Trump purchased various iconic structures for relatively little money. Today, some of those real estate deals have really paid off. Take, for instance, the building found at 40 Wall Street. Built in 1930, the Bank of Manhattan Trust Building was, at one time, the tallest building ever made, thanks to its 71 stories. Over the decades, it fell into decline, and in 1995, Donald Trump swooped in and bought it for $10 million. If you're thinking that's a good deal, it gets even better when you learn that today, this piece of real estate is valued around $500 million. The Donald doesn't fully own the building yet, as there are reports he still has a $50 million mortgage outstanding. Nonetheless, thanks to the giant gold letters over the entrance, there's no mistaking who owns this piece of Manhattan. Trump Princess. Now that he's President of the United States, Donald Trump likely doesn't have as much spare time to kick back and relax. Sure, there's the whole Mar-a-Lago and Gulf weekend thing, but beyond that, we hear it's a pretty busy lifestyle. Because of this, it's probably a good thing that Trump sold his massive yacht. Nonetheless, while he doesn't currently own it, we think it's worth mentioning because of how impressive it was. This super yacht was originally built in 1980 for a Saudi billionaire. At the time, it cost $100 million, which in today's money is roughly $290 million. In some savvy business dealing, Donald Trump was able to buy this beast in the late 80s for a measly $29 million. What did that get him? Renamed the Trump Princess, the yacht had 5 decks, a cinema, and several suites. Pretty luxurious if you ask us. Always looking for bigger and better things, it was reported that Trump even had plans for a larger yacht in the works. However, in the early 90s, facing financial problems and the realization that boats are a terrible investment, he sold the Trump Princess to another Saudi billionaire for a loss at $20 million. Avenue of the Americas Building. 1290 Avenue of the Americas sits between 51st and 52nd Street in Manhattan. It was built in 1964 and underwent a huge renovation just a few years ago. In terms of individual properties, this one is worth a reported whopping $2.3 billion. The office space, which is home to the likes of Microsoft and just steps away from Rockefeller Center, is one of Trump's priciest real estate ventures. It's also one of his most prized. However, he doesn't actually own the building, just a part of it. You see, Trump only owns 30% of 1290 Avenue of the Americas. The rest is owned by another company linked to a massive legal battle between Chinese investors and Trump. We could go into the whole story, but it would take far too much time. Nonetheless, in terms of investment, Trump's stake in this piece of real estate is said to be worth around $410 million. It may not sound or look as flashy as some of the other Trump properties, but 1290 is actually an incredibly important piece in the Trump family portfolio. Mercedes S600 Guard. We don't normally associate Donald Trump with cars. After all, his image is usually linked to high-end real estate deals, reality TV, or, currently, the White House. Don't be fooled, however, the president is a man who places an incredible amount of importance on appearance, and this extends to what cars he likes. Sure, he'd prefer to fly from point A to point B in his 757 jet or his Sikorsky helicopter, but that's not always possible, especially now that he's president. No, it's Marine One, Air Force One, and the Beast for him. While the presidential limo is pretty sweet, so is Trump's regular civilian luxury car. A Mercedes Maybach S600. But this is no regular S600. This is the S600 Guard, a special edition with extra protection because you never know what the mean streets of New York are going to throw at you. The stretch sedan is bullet-resistant, powered by a 6-liter V12 engine, and reportedly comes with its own air supply and run-flat tires. Sure, it's no presidential limo, but at just over $500,000, this German luxury car combines the best of performance with all the VIP perks you'd want. 7 Springs. You likely know that when President Trump is looking to get away from Washington, D.C. for a quick weekend vacation, he usually heads down to Florida, where you can find his Mar-a-Lago resort. Unofficially, it's been given the name the White House of the South. Interestingly, there isn't a White House of the North. Well, there may be. It's just that Trump doesn't seem to want to use it when it's cold. The place we're talking about is Trump's 7 Springs estate in Westchester, New York. This sprawling 230-acre property was purchased by Trump in 1996 for $7.5 million. Initially, he wanted to turn the location into a world-class golf course. Public outcry from nearby residents put a hold to that. So, for now, the rest of his family enjoys the estate while the Donald spends time in Washington and Florida. The 50,000-square-foot mansion comes complete with 60 rooms, 3 pools, and 2 servants' wings for all the help you'd need to maintain this place. Today, 7 Springs is estimated to be worth around $20 million. The Trumps, however, will tell you it's worth nearly $290 million. All right, since we're talking about President Trump and his money, let's keep those two together for our quiz. Do you know how much money President Trump gets paid per year in his position as President of the United States? Think it over while we assess some of Trump's other high-roller items. Charlottesville Estate. Donald Trump doesn't drink alcohol, not a drop. That fact surprises many people who don't know a lot about the president. Perhaps what is surprising is that one of Trump's estates and investments is all about wine. That's right, the president owns a vineyard and winery located in Charlottesville, Virginia. Okay, technically his son Eric is in charge of the place, but we all know who is really running the show. In any case, in the 1990s, the estate was owned by Patricia Klug, the wife of billionaire John Klug. She took out massive loans in an effort to transform the several hundred acres into a winery. Then the Klugs fell on financially difficult times. In 2011, things fell through after Klug tried to sell the whole venture for $100 million. Enter Donald Trump. Shrewd business dealings meant that Trump was able to eventually purchase the entire property with all of its equipment for around $15 million, a steal considering the original asking price. Today, Forbes values the estate at around $30 million, although we figure that price will only increase thanks to Trump's position in Washington. Lamborghini Diablo. If you saw part of our series, then you know Donald Trump has a taste for rather expensive cars. We've already discussed the Mercedes S600, and you've already seen the Mercedes SLR McLaren and Rolls-Royce Phantom. But did you know about Donald Trump's Lamborghini? While he no longer owns it, we thought you'd be interested to know that in the late 90s, the now President of the United States owned and operated a Lamborghini Diablo. The car in question was purchased in 1996 and sold a few years later. Painted a very rare Le Mans blue, Trump's Diablo had a 492 horsepower engine and 4-wheel drive to ensure the Donald always had maximum traction. We can only imagine why he ended up selling it. Although, to be honest, someone of Trump's stature likely found it difficult getting into and out of the rather low-sitting Italian exotic. When he sold it, Trump had no idea how popular the car would become. For example, in 2016, his old Lamborghini actually sold at an eBay auction for $460,000. That's a lot more than most Diablos of the same age. Trump International Hotel and Tower, Chicago. It's not all about New York and Washington, D.C. when it comes to Donald Trump. The real estate mogul has famous and high-priced buildings all over the globe. Take, for instance, the Trump International Hotel and Tower in Chicago. With 98 floors and 2.6 million square feet of space, this Trump building has more than enough room for an array of retail, parking, hotel, and condominium use. There are also restaurants and a spa to round out the experience. Estimates place the cost of building this structure at nearly $850 million. Now, we all know cost to build and ownership value aren't the same thing, Today, Forbes estimates the building's worth in the neighborhood of $150 million. Add into that the fact that it brings in around $6 million a year in rent and property sales, and it's easy to see why this Chicago estate is one of Trump's favorites. Well, actually, when we think about it, maybe Trump likes this building so much because the climactic fight scene between the Joker and Batman in The Dark Knight happened in this very building. And here we thought Batman lived in Gotham. Golf clubs. When you think of trivial yet ridiculously expensive things Donald Trump owns, you might think of that golden toilet he allegedly uses. We've all seen the photos of the toilet the president supposedly has installed in his penthouse. Unfortunately, it's not true. Oh, the golden toilet exists, but it's actually a Hong Kong tycoon who owns it, and not the Donald. Don't be too upset, though. President Trump does own one golden item that is high-priced and likely not in your possession: a gold golf club. We don't know the price of his complete set, or if he only uses golden balls, but we do know for a fact that one of his drivers is pretty pricey. You see, when he met with the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Trump was given a Honma Beres S5 driver. Made of titanium and carbon, this particular club costs $3,755. Of course, given the present was for Trump, Abe made sure that it also had the gold trim. Given that reporters have pictured the president hitting golf balls with his expensive driver, we can say he must like it a lot. Suits. When people talk about the high-priced things President Trump owns, they rightfully focus on the big-ticket items, like buildings, golf courses, resorts, and planes. However, Trump also places a lot of value on what he looks like. It's why he spray tans and dyes his hair. Image is everything. This can also be seen in the suits that he wears. Now, we'll just get the obvious out of the way first. Yes, President Trump has been roundly criticized for looking rather unpolished in his suits. They look ill-fitting with oversized pants, seemingly untailored waistlines on his jackets, and sleeves that are much too long. It all ends up kind of making him look like he's a kid wearing his father's outfits. In fact, it can make it look like Trump's suits are cheap. Trust us, somehow they aren't. We all know the president loves expensive things, and that's why he turns to Italian label Brioni for the majority of his suits. These suits cost anywhere from $6,000 to $17,000, so they aren't cheap. Unfortunately, as we've seen with the president, it's not what you wear, but how you wear it. So, any idea how much Donald Trump gets paid for being president of the United States? The answer, $400,000 a year. That salary came into effect when George W. Bush took office and doesn't include the annual expense, travel, and entertainment accounts available to the president. For now, that's the end of our show, everyone. Of course, should you want to know more about the current president, stick around and see some of the other videos we have. From even more expensive items to just plain old facts you might not know, we've got all things Trump all right here. Remember to subscribe so you're always in touch. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.